I'm Dr. Lavanya, and today I'm here to talk about coronaviruses, which have caused a global pandemic and is spreading much faster than our health officials can identify a way to stop it. Now, what are these coronaviruses? This coronavirus belongs to family of the previously known SARS virus, which had caused an epidemic in the year of 2002 to 2003 in China. Now, SARS stands for Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome. Now, this coronavirus is also known as Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2. Why is it called the same? Because it has structural similarities similar to that of SARS virus, and also it is affecting the respiratory tract. The only difference is this virus is spreading at a faster rate than the SARS had previously presented, and also it has much tighter affinity towards our cells in the respiratory system. That is why this is called as SARS coronavirus 2. Now, why is the coronavirus called as coronaviruses? Now, if you look at the structure of this virus, this is the cell membrane. Now, here there are projections which are projecting outside the cell membrane. Now, these projections are very important. These are called as spikes. Now, since they are present like the crown on the head or like the rays of the sun, this is also called as coronaviruses. Now, before we enter into exactly what coronavirus does inside our body, let us briefly understand the difference between a virus and a bacteria. I know both of them sound really similar, but they are actually really different families. Now, coming to the similarity between viruses and bacteria. Now, both of them are really microscopic. That means they are very, very tiny and need microscopes to look into them. And they both can cause variety of diseases. Now, coming to differences. Now, if you take this bacteria, now this bacteria also has a capacity to be present everywhere. That means it can be present on this paper, it can be present on this book, it can be present on this pen, it can be present on my hands, so on and so forth. Now, this bacteria has a capacity to live outside any host. That means it can live on this dining table, or it can live on this paper, and it can also produce its food and it can reproduce. That means at a point of time, this bacteria can divide into two, these two bacteria can divide into four, and so on and so forth. But viruses, they are little different. Now, this virus does not have a machinery to produce its own food. Neither it can reproduce on its own. It really needs a medium, that is a host. A host can be in the form of plants or animals or human beings. Now, once this gains access inside the host, what it does is it hijacks the cell. That is, it takes over the host cell and orders the host cell to produce baby virus particles. Once the host cell starts listening to this virus, what happens is the host cell will stop doing all the other work. That means it will not produce proteins for your body, but it will start producing the viruses. So much so that one fine day the cell will get filled with virus particles like this, and it will undergo rupture or lysis. On that day, the virus particles will be spilled everywhere. That means one virus particle will go inside, hijack your cell, and will be divided into so many baby virus particles. These baby viruses will go and infect other cells. This is how basically the virus proliferates. Now, this is the general difference between virus and bacteria. Before we can understand what coronavirus is doing inside the body, let us also understand about our immune system. Now, our immune system is a diverse system. It's a beautiful, elaborate system, which I am trying to simplify in a brief aspect. Now, we all know that we are surrounded by millions of pathogens. There are millions of bacteria, viruses, parasites, everything around our body. But we are hale and healthy. We can talk, we can breathe, we can laugh, we can do everything properly. Nothing happens to us because the skin forms as a major barrier. It does not allow the pathogens to enter inside our body. But sometimes we get cut, or we fall. At that time we have an injury. So at that time what happens? Once there is a gain in access, once there is an injury on our hand or anywhere in the body, millions of pathogens will start entering inside. Now, when those pathogens enter inside, the immune response is activated. Now, these neutrophils are very beautiful cells. they basically try to engulf the pathogens or the germs at the site of injury. They try to engulf as many as possible, but at one point of time, only these are not sufficient. So they call their colleagues, they are called as macrophages. Now these macrophages are much bigger than neutrophils. Now what do? They try to engulf the bacteria. Also, they try to project a part of bacteria on their surface. Now for example, if this is a macrophage, this will try to project a part of bacteria on its surface and it will start roaming in the circulation. Now when this is roaming in the circulation, because of the chemical signals which is released at the site of injury and also looking at the part of bacteria projecting outside the macrophage, other macrophages get attracted and come to the site of injury. Also, this will go to our lymph nodes where it will react with other immune cells. Those are the B and T cells. Now, what these B and T cells do? Now, these T cells enhance the activity of the other immune cells in the defense, and they basically help in more advanced defense mechanism. And these B cells are the important cells. These form the antibodies. That means these will release a specific type of antibodies against the specific pathogen, thereby killing the pathogen. Also, they will form something called as memory cells. That means they have a certain small amount of pathogen inside them so as to form the memory, so that when you are attacked again by the same kind of bacteria or virus, the memory B cells will come into picture and immediately neutralize the infection, thereby increasing the immune mechanism. So this is how our defense mechanism acts in general. Now coming to coronavirus, now what is it doing inside your body? Now basically when you get infected via coronavirus, or when you come in contact with an infected person, what happens is it gains entry into your respiratory tract. Now this is in general a respiratory tract. A respiratory tract consists of nostrils, upper airway and the lower airway, which enters inside the lungs. Now what this coronavirus does? Now this coronavirus gains entry into the upper respiratory tract when a person comes in contact with the infected person. Now if this stays in the upper respiratory tract, that is till your nose, till your throat, and if your immunity kicks in and throws it out, it is well and good. In my next video, I'll try to cover that what are the different immunity boosters and what we can do so as to increase our resistance towards coronavirus. Okay, now if it is gone outside our throat, pertaining to our upper respiratory tract, it is good. But if it gains access into lower respiratory tract, that is when the trouble arises. Now we should understand that the cells of the respiratory tract are lined by a receptor called as angiotensin converting enzyme 2 receptors, or the ACE receptors. Now these receptors are very important because they allow the entry of virus inside our cells. Now what happens is, this receptor acts like a keyhole mechanism. That means if this is a coronavirus and this is an ACE receptor, this will directly fit, these spikes of the coronavirus will directly fit inside the receptors, allowing the entry of the genetic material inside the cell. Now once the virus enters inside the cell, we all know what does it do is it hijacks the cell and orders the cell to form many baby virus particles, in this case baby corona particles. And at one fine day, when the cell cannot take it anymore, it undergoes lysis, spilling all the baby coronavirus particles to the other parts of the tract, and thereby infecting other cells. So this one coronavirus has entered inside the cell, spilling all the other cells, all the other coronaviruses, and these in turn will go and infect the other cells. So that is how the coronavirus invades the respiratory tract. At this point of time, your immunity also will not keep quiet. The immunity will come and start playing its role. The neutrophils will come, the macrophages will come, every other cells will come. Now in this, when all the cells start coming to the site of injury, what do? They do not act like shooting. They basically do not shoot. They launch missiles. That means instead of eating the pathogens, they also start destructing the healthy cells. In this way, a lot of fluid is accumulated. The blood vessels become really leaky. That means the blood vessels become permeable so as to allow so many cells to enter inside the lungs. In this way, the fluid also escapes, because of which there is a lot of fluid accumulation which happens inside the lung, leading to pneumonia and hampers the oxygen exchange with carbon dioxide. This is how the patient lands up in respiratory distress. Because of the exchange of oxygen is hampered inside the lung, the other cells also start, other organs also start succumbing to it, leading to multi-organ failure. Now this is in brief as to what coronavirus is doing inside our body. Now in next video I shall try to talk about the various immunity boosters and also what is the concept of vaccine and this hydroxychloroquine, whether we should take it or not. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Thank you.